So in my other video, apologies if it was quiet, we talked about going between the Mudbox and the Maya and how they can talk back and forth and how you can use one to help the other and the other to help the other. So Maya can help a Mudbox model and Mudbox can help a Maya model. Hope that was clear in the last little demonstration. But now we're going to be focusing on the UV mapping. So here is my head. I've made a high poly mesh to be difficult on purpose. And we want to make a UV map. So I'm going to open that up as best I can. I'm going to save my scene as. I'm going to call it Demo 3. This is my third one trying. Okay. Step 1, you got to get this into it's into the UV editor. And you've been trained to be very efficient with your UV space, but a whole head being together is going to be more important than maximizing your space. This one that you're seeing here, they use a little bit of the neck, which you won't have. So there is going to be some empty gaps in your UV map. Just let that go. Normally you would have that for your neck or for your other spots, and if you're doing a monster and use the Mudbox bust, that will be there. So. But the two that I have don't have that neck space. So this will be blank and that's going to be okay. I just wanted to preface that because I know some of you have been trained to be very efficient with that UV map space, which you should be. Okay. Step 1, we got to get to our UV editor. So our panel here is going to go from panel, and it's the only saved layout that has the word UV in it. So if you're like, which one? It's the UV editor. I'll hop back here in a second. I'm going to do everything twice. Once with my self-portrait and once with my Ahsoka. You've been trained to go to create and choose automatic or to hit the options and you get this mess, right? We don't need to do that. We are going to just use a planar map. I'm going to hit create and then cut. Planar map options. And this was already set up, but I'm going to choose the Z-axis. I'm going to hit apply. I have this wonderful straight view of my head. This will get warped, and this is doubling up your UVs, which you do not want. So we do have to cut and unfold it, which is our next step. So in my UV editor, I'm just going to keep this open so I can see what's happening. And I'm going to make an incision down the edges, kind of right here. So I want to start right where my hairline starts, maybe a little bit in. That way I hide the seam. And I'm going to hit edge. Now, if you have a high dense model like I do, it's going to get really tricky to pick where the center line is. Oops, I missed. And I don't want to go all the way down to there. So I'm going to double click this center line. And that gives me the whole head. But now I need to deselect everything down here. So I could shift and it'll deselect those, but then it's going to select the horizontal side like that. So what I want to do is I want to grab this one, but I'm going to have a tough time picking where exactly my center is. So I turn on Object X, and that gives me these little blue lines, right? Because it's going to, so I grab that one. This is where I want my incision to start. Actually, I'm going to have my incision start. Let's see, right about there. So that one's in the middle. Good. I want to go to the back of my head. Now with object symmetry, it'd be really hard to guess. Even with my perspective, I could guess wrong, and I have guessed wrong. So I know this is my center because the object symmetry is not highlighting anything. Shift, double click. I get that whole line and I don't get any part of the front of my face. That is trick 1. Okay. So I'm going to have a seam from here to here and it's going to split open. Okay. I want to go to cut. And I want to choose cut. And so now if I click off of it, the highlighted edge is white. I have this white edge here that's indicating that I have a split UV. That's good. In object mode, I'm going to unfold. So I've done cut, and now I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to go to unfold. And now I have this nice even split. Looks like my mouth was a little asymmetrical. I can right click and go to UV shell. I can rotate this so that it is relatively flat. It is better to have your face oriented for up and down and left and right than to try to maximize the space. I could have it diagonal, and then I could shrink it so it kind of gets a little bit more resolution. But keeping everything oriented and flat in Photoshop will be more worth. Will be worth the sacrifice of space in my UV map. Okay, if you have a neck, you are going to cut it at some sort of jawline here, and that will be used in the blank space. I do not have a neck, so I'm going to have some blank space in my UV map. Now, another thing I really don't like is some UV maps have the UV ears kind of flattened and smushed out. I don't like that. So what I am going to do is I'm going to carve out over here, I'm going to object node. I'm going to carve out these ears. Now this is the part where it's going to get tricky. And my symmetrical selection isn't going to work perfectly here as well. I wonder if let's see what happens. So I'm going to slowly and carefully just kind of carve out this set of edges here. And some of you might, I'm going to go right there. So any place where there's the ear is touching, I'm going to have to do some jagged cuts, which I'm not crazy about in this model, but we will keep going. I'm also going to use this as a reference as to like where to go. So I'm assuming I'm going to go here next. You're going to see me jump between these two. Oops, and that one went up the wall, or went up the ear. So I actually want to deselect those. It was actually going this way on the ear, which I don't want. So I want to cut here, 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 and then is this going to go down? Yes. So I'm selecting here, but looking here. This seems to be a good set of lines. So if I, yes. And so once again, oops, I went too far. So I'm going to have to kitty corner cut over. So I'm going to have to do this jagged cut. So I'm going to deselect. I'm going to undo that selection. I'm going to start making a diagonal cut over. It's going to get jagged. There's not much we can do, but it's going to be behind the ear, so we're going to be okay with it. I'm going to take two in and then keep going. Wanting this to be all continuous. This might not, my model is a little asymmetrical, so this might not work. I'm going to keep that one going. If you have less geometry on your head, that is great. Let's go here. Where do I want that low? I'm going to cut way in. Get here. Oop, wrong one. Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Right? The bulk of the work was the easiest. Yes. And which one? Which one? That one. Such decisions. That. Okay. Nice complete circle. And I'm going to cut. What usually happens is when I break out that ear, I have a, oops, right click UV shell. Something wasn't touching. I have one last thing. Edge. Oh, right there. Cut. Cut again. Now I have a separate shell. This will kind of help turn off. I'm going to turn off my symmetrical selection. There's something about this little helper that gives all the extra hotkeys. Really slows down my system, which I might turn off in a second. I'm also recording. It didn't do as well on this side of the ear. Oh, come on, man. but I can make it work. So I'm just gonna use the clues I did for last one, just so I have two separate ears, and these are ready to go. Just to kind of get to a point of exporting out my UV map. I would take more time and care if I wasn't recording myself for the demo and I wasn't having, it is its own UV shell. All right, now I have two separate ears. And in some UV maps, if the ears are going to be exactly the same, you can stack them. If you wanted to have slightly different ear techniques. Now remember, for our UV map, we want to keep everything in this quadrant. That is the only quadrant that matters. That's the only quadrant that will ship out. I could, if I wanted to, I could flip one of those and then stack them. I could flip it and then stack it. And if I needed more space for the neck or other parts, I could do that. Another thing I could do is I could cut the scalp and then I have one big face and then everything else is smaller and stacked. That's another thing I could do. But I'm trying to save seams. What I mean by seams is I'm trying to have as few borders as possible. Ooh, man. I have as few borders as possible on my model. So I have lots of seamless stuff. All right, so that's as wide as I can get it. And then these are my ears. I don't want them stacked, so I'm going to hit undo. One more time. Until it flips back. Flip back. There we go. And we're good to go. All right. What you're turning in tonight is just the UV map. So you're going to go over here. Make sure it's in object mode. And you're going to go to Image, UV Snapshot. And I just want a JPEG. If you work for a company, they might want a Targa. They might want a TIFF. They might want a ping. They might want to go directly into Photoshop. For me, for this class, for everything, just make it a JPEG, easier, more universal. Life is good. Make sure, though, it's sending it to your Documents folder. So you do have to hit Browse. You do have to go to Desktop. You're going to call it ADV _ face UV set. This way, whether it's the monster or not, and then your last name. And go ahead and hit apply and close. That is all you need. Now, if you're doing a monster head, that might be a little bit more complicated. So let's take a look at that before we get into Photoshop. And let's do, that's Ahsoka. So let's go to File, Save As, and let's do Demo 3, Save As. Same thing, repeating everything I did. A little less dense, which will make it a little easier. I'm going to hit Panels, Save Layouts, UV Editor. I'm going to do the same exact thing, except Ahsoka here's got a few more details I need to worry about. So all I really need for Ahsoka is her face, right? I don't need much else. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to delete some of these faces. I noticed that on my other head that I had those sealed off. So I'm going to just try to, real quickly, just have some clear nostrils. What's that for, real quick? Did I get them all? I got them all. Hit delete. Back to 5. Yeah. Yes, I like that better. It won't squish the nose as much when I undo it. We're good there? Okay. Again, I'm in my UV panel. From Panel, Save Layouts, UV Editor. I'm in Object Mode. Right-click Object Mode. I'm going to go to Create, Planar Options. I'm still going to use the Z-axis. It defaults to X. You want to switch it to Z. Hit Apply or Project. Project will close it. I have the same situation I had before. But this time, and you might have the situation with your monster head, there might be a better place to cut it. So for me, I want to trace this set of edges right here. So I'll have a clear, distinct line between her. Not that one, this one. I want to do this one. Did I just do it? Nope. Okay. So I want to go from here all the way up to about there. Am I getting both sides? I am. Here to here to here. Yeah. Get that. So basically, I'm cutting her face out of this. Let's call it a headdress. I know it's not a headdress. I know it's part. If you really want to know the Star Wars lore, there's supposed to be some sort of sonic sensors in there, like ears. Now I'm having trouble getting in between there, but I can also dive inside her head like that. Get those. I want to get all the way down into. Might be missing. This is E4. Ooh, that's a tough thing to grab. Which one is it? Which one is it? That one right. Oh, come on. Get in there. That one. And go back to 5. And it's this one. There. That looks about right. And once again, the tool is cut. Shoop. This should make the face all one UV shell. Did it? Yeah. Good job. Wham. Okay. I still need to unfold that. So I'm going to move this over to the side. I'll talk about what to do with this guy in a second. I'm going to take this one, move over to the side, and I'm going to choose Modify, Unfold. It's looking pretty good. So that is her face. That's going to be the orange. Now, this is the blue and white spots. If I were to unfold this right now, it would be rather drastic. So I know that it does kind of get, it's symmetrical. You could make an argument that, like, you know, this stripe is a little off center for that stripe. But I'm going to cut this in half to be efficient with my space, and I'm going to stack it. So every character is different. So if you have a monster and you have a good reason just to kind of take off the face entirely, because I don't mind there being a seam here. This is going to be orange. This is going to be white. That's actually going to help me make a nice, clear, distinct line on her face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that entire edge loop. So it starts there. I just did a shift, double click. So I clicked one, shift, double click the one right next to it. And I got that entire ring. And I cut it all the way through, and it seemed to stop right here because I have a. It's not a quad; it's a diamond. But Maya got confused, which is fair. I have this going right down the middle, and I'm going to cut this. You'll see why once I get to Photoshop, or maybe you'll see. All right, so now I have two separate pieces. So I got a UV shell here and here. They both highlight those, so I'm going to uncheck there. Now I'm going to select both of these and modify, unfold. And I have two halves. Right? So I have my left half and my right half. I'm going to flip this one. So I'm going to go to modify, flip. You can also flip vertically if I hit options. I could flip it this way, but I'm going to flip it horizontally. Apply. And now I'm going to stack them. I'm going to put this one right on top of the other one. So this way, I've just cut my workload in half, and that way I know my UV map is going to be symmetrical in Photoshop. I'm going to pull that down in here. And then, what's most important? The face is forward, right? Someone could argue I could cut the face in half and flip it too. I could. I don't want to. But I totally could. And then to grab both of my stacks, I can go here and shrink them. I'm going to lay that flat, and that's about as efficient as I can get here. I don't have to worry about ears because I hid them with these, I forget what they're called. There's a name for them. Whoever's my Star Wars Lord, please tell me. My Star Wars lore expert. And there you go. And that is my face. I have a little bit more of a cushion there. kind of rotate these a little bit. So give it a little bit. I just want a nice cushion between the two. Just in case I get some bleed or spill. I can shrink these down. I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm sorry, because I know that it's going to be easier to paint those. Nah, it'll be fine. Be good. One more thing I could do is that these faces here, up here, and this face is set right here, those are getting very, very squished. I could cut and carve those out as well, similar to how I did the ears, which you might see me do in class. So I would go along here and cut these, and then I can unfold them. I wonder if I could do that really quickly. No, I'd take a while. But I can take some time here in cutting them, and then unfold those as well. Actually, I wonder, did that get the right ring? Almost. Go up a few. And that could unfold. So if I cut that and unfold it, I would have, just to show you what I'm talking about, get to a UV shell. This would be easier to paint a blue stripe on. Unfold. Oh, I'd cut a seam. Sorry, and then I have to cut a seam. Should go right there. And I'll talk about this in class a little bit. I'll do this a little bit better. Something like that. Cut. So all I'm doing is cutting and unfolding and then rearranging the shells. Now if I hit modify and fold, that's going to be easier to paint those blue lines that she has. So I would go through and cut each one. So you can select edges here. You can select edges on the model, wherever you see fit. When I'm all done, once again, I'm going to go to Image. I'm going to go to, UV Snapshot. The settings are still there, JPEG. This time I'm going to go to Browse, and this time I'm going to choose ADV underscore monster UV snap. And then underscore last name. And then hit save. Shabam. Apply and close. And I have my UV snapshot to work in Photoshop. Next video, Photoshop.